Hello, everybody. Coming to you for a virtual faculty meeting for this week with a lot of important information. So it may be a lengthier one, but a lot of good information that we got at the last principals meeting that either I want to clarify or notify you of. So first thing is you received an email last week from Josh Shepard about the VoIP phones. Those are actually already here in the building, and we put into every classroom over the summer. So every classroom will have a phone in their classroom. All school numbers will remain the same, but your classroom number to directly call into your number will be a different number that won't be like an 886 number because they were out of those. Now, what is important about this is even if you give out your classroom phone number, which is perfectly fine to do for parents, personal people, they do need to understand that from the times, as of right now, from 7:30 until 4 o'clock, it will go straight to voicemail. Therefore, it will not be ringing in your classroom during the school day. Now, obviously, there'll be stipulations on the phone use. Obviously, can't do it during classroom instruction time. And one big thing is the phone has to remain where it is and cannot be moved from room to room because they'll give these numbers and locations for emergency personnel. Also, it'll be unlimited long distance. Long distance will be an issue, but international calling will be blocked. We'll still have an international card up here to call if we need to. 911 will go through as dialed, and everybody will have their own extension. So that will be coming for next year, which is exciting and scary at the same time, but definitely good that everybody has that access in their room. School supplies is the next thing. Go ahead and I will email it out just so everybody has a copy and you don't have to search for it, but start with your grade level talking about that during one of your last meetings of what your school supply list will look like for next year. Keep in mind we can't put anything like Clorox wipes, Kleenex, Ziploc bags, those things we can't put on there, and you want to keep it under $20 is what you're shooting for. Always remember the gracious people that we have around our community who are donating stuff for us that we always get tons of, and so you may turn in something to me saying that you need 10 glue sticks, but then I will take that in consideration and I will give you those glue sticks in return based off of what we get or if we purchase over the summer for a cheap price. So just keep in mind that just because you turn in something doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to say when it gets printed out. We will still make up for it though. Mark your calendars, May 28th to support our Teacher of the Year, Support Employer of the Year, and Volunteer of the Year. May 28th at West Oak High School, 4:30 to 6 will be that ceremony and reception time to celebrate them. All right. I did want to say two things about two programs for next year really quick before I get into the lengthier things. Olweus is the first one. We will have Olweus next year. The district used this at Ravenel this year as a pilot and is getting it for the whole district for next year. This is different than Sanford Harmony. Sanford Harmony is more of social mental in general, where Olweus is just bullying. So we have not discussed yet how we're going to marry those two, but we do know for sure that we're going to have Olweus in the schools next year, and that'll be every elementary school across the district, and they're looking at putting that in the middle school for next year or the next as well. Rosetta Stone, I did get clarification on Rosetta Stone, and my comment that I put, I'm the note taker for the principals meeting, and I put in there for it's not mandatory for next year. Teachers can participate if they desire. Duolingo is a free option that is also available too. So again, you don't have to plan for Rosetta Stone if you choose not to. You can if you want, and Duolingo is another option that you can use for free. All right, so we've already talked about previously how Canvas, we don't have to use that as an elementary portal for our students. You can use Google Classroom, which many of you are doing. I've seen several of those in action, especially in the back hallway. And again, you don't have to use Google Classroom, that's an option. But Canvas you do not use. If you have anything in Canvas, you will be able to get that out, and you do need to start moving that out, because next year you'll only be able to view it, not be able to move it. So if you have anything in Canvas, go ahead and get that taken out or saved somewhere else. We will, however, make the push for Parent Portal to be used across the board. Now, Parent Portal we've always had because it's a part of Power School, but we will push Parent Portal more so than we've done before in the past, because anybody supposedly pre-K through 5, and actually further, but I'm just telling you for your sake, pre-K through 5 will be able to check grades there, look at assignments there. And we say this and make this switch because next year, no one will have progress reports. So that's great for us. That takes one thing off our plate mid semester or mid 9 weeks. But nobody in special ed and nobody in general ed will have progress reports for next year. So if a parent wants to find out how their child is doing, they need to be logged in to Parent Portal through Power School, which we will take care of all that, especially at the beginning of the year, with printing out the letter for them to be able to sign up for Parent Portal. They will have to sign up for that. But once they get in, many of you as parents already have that. But it's a decent program that will give you instant updates as to when a grade is put in, and you can control that. But Parent Portal will be the big push for next year, since we will not have progress reports for anybody. All right, moving into, let's do technology first. All right, so first, the technology funding. I told you in the last principals meeting what they were looking at doing as far as leasing computer equipment, and that is moving forward for sure. So over the summer, starting now, go ahead and move everything off of your hard drives for sure, because you will lose that if you don't have that backed up and saved. Google is unlimited space, so that'd be a great place for you to put it. Or you can get an external hard drive or jump drives, anything like that, to save your stuff on. But get it off of your computer, because the computer that you currently have, you will not have once school starts. All teachers will receive one type, and as far as I'm hearing, everybody else will receive, assistants will receive like a Chromebook if they don't already have one, and then database clerk and bookkeeper and front office, they'll get something separately. So everybody will have something, and you'll have it for approximately 4 years. And then it'll rotate off, and you'll get something new every 4 years of this leasing program. With that said, I do want to tell you the background side of that is I no longer have as much technology funds as what I had previously. But a nice surprise is that if my Title I plan is approved, we are looking at getting a nice chunk of interactive panels for our school. Not just a few at a time, because before this I've only been able to afford 5 here and 6 here. I have not been able to buy that many, so I'm looking to buy upwards of 25 to 30 interactive panels. So that's that leasing program. So again, the biggest thing with that is just get your stuff saved and get it off of your current computer. Now, moving into the technology programs for next year. All right, this is probably the biggest part of this conversation today, because I know that something maybe in a video form is coming out from the district very soon to further explain this, to clarify this. So I'll tell you what I know, what I remember, and what I think right now, and then you'll probably get further clarification from them. So all this year, I know that the Office of Instruction has worked very, very hard, especially meeting with principals and our instructional team here individually, to really look at what percentage is using reflex math, what percentage is using reading A to Z. Are we using that across the board? Are we using that correctly? Are teachers looking at the data that comes from those different programs? And so we've really been doing a huge push with that information this school year and looking at that during our meetings. So when this time came up to start looking for what are we going to do for this year for our programs, that's where all of this information kind of came from. And so as a team, but also primarily Office of Instruction, looking at across the whole entire district, We do want to attempt to use similar programs to have all of our kids in the same playing field, but also using what we know is working in our schools. And so also looking at the budget and what are we getting our money's worth with the programs that we're using. So I do want to tell you some things that will be coming next year and some things that will not be coming next year so that you can plan appropriately now. The first one is everybody K through 12, I'm pretty certain, will get a new program that is very big around this area and used in many school districts called IXL, and we will have that for math and ELA. For those of you familiar with Dreambox, it's kind of similar to that kind of program. There is a fluency component in the math side of IXL, so it will replace Reflex. There will be PD at the start of the school year. I know the start of the school year is not the best time to get it, but unfortunately no one was available to come from the company to start that now. And too many of us just need a break with our brains. So we'll start using that program more so for next year. And because we're doing that, it does take $10 out of our student instructional budget. So in other words, where I allow you to have $100 of spending money, that may not be as much for next year because we don't have as much money in that pot to use. We will not be renewing Brain Pop, Moby Max, and Reflex Math. So those things will not be renewed and will not be purchased with school funds or district funds. And again, all those are made off of the data that came back from those programs and also the time spent on those programs across the district, and also the money being spent for those programs. Again, I'm pretty certain that school district will follow up with something confirming all that information, but just wanted to let you know that ahead of time so you can definitely start planning now. Any questions though, let me know and I'll try to answer those further. All right, the last thing that I have is standards-based timeline. That is huge for next year, and I wanted to give you an idea of what we've seen and what's to come. So currently right now, teachers, they've reached out to certain teachers and asked them to be on these teams that are creating each 9 weeks at a time. We were able to see the Google Drive where they are keeping all this information and kind of drive through that a little bit, and it does look really, really good. But obviously still building that out. I'm very excited for this project and to see what kind of resources we're going to get, but also just being able to tell somebody this is what you need to be doing in the first 9 weeks in Coney County, where you still have your flair and what you want to put on it, but within this time frame you teach this. There are flex days built in for field days and whatnot, field trips, whatever it may be, and also not learning at the same pace. So those things are taken into account. But right now, before you leave, you will definitely have the overview. You will have the at a glance. So those 2 documents you will have for your grade level, as well as the first 9 weeks. Then once we return from summer, they're going to be working on building those out, and you will get a 9 weeks at a time prior to that 9 weeks actually starting. That will also give you time to plan for a little bit of that. So it'll be the curriculum will be built out at 9 weeks at a time with the resources that work group right now is preparing. So the biggest thing is just being flexible and patient. It's coming, and you will get that. The Google Drive will be shared with us at a later date as well. You'll have you'll have view rights, but no edit rights on that program. And there will be training in August for this. But again, you'll have all that stuff before you leave. Really hitting that short because I'm about to run out of time on this program. But again, any kind of questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Busy week coming up, especially in the next 2 weeks. But the biggest thing, keep a smile on your face, keep pushing forward. It's almost done, almost here. But just keep in mind our babies who are going to be leaving us very soon, that we don't want them to leave us. We'll be doing so anyways. But we'll keep you posted on anything else coming our way. And if there's any questions, don't hesitate to let Sandy, Aaron, or myself know. Y'all have a great day and see you later.